the air was fine yesterday. So now we just reached the point where it's just a matter of which way the wind blows.
Oh, wow.
If the wind changes, then you get the ash and the bad air again. But I just found out, like Rich was talking about, for some reason this morning or overnight, the Palisades fire, the embers kicked up and started going east towards the 405. So Brentwood, which is the next neighborhood over, that's where my nephew and niece live, and they've been evacuated. And like you said, UCLA, which is on the east side of the 405. But I also found out that the VA hospital, our West LA VA, has been evacuated because that's that's on the west side of the 405, right opposite UCLA. So our patients, obviously, and our staffs have been evacuated from that location. So obviously, we're all monitoring that to see, how that plays out over the weekend. But you just hope, it's not just the VA hospital. There's a lot of on-campus housing. So obviously, we've got a lot of vets who live there, and even some staffs who live there. So obviously, a lot of concerns for those guys, and just hope they're doing okay.
Yeah, I really don't know where people are evacuating to. I guess if you have some
Yeah.
friends or relatives, you can go to that. But for the others, so our partners down at the Dream Center put out a text the other day, like 3 days ago, that they were receiving donations for food and diapers and formula and stuff like that. So a few of us loaded up the car, went to Smart and Final, loaded up the car, went down to the Dream Center. I saw Met Stetson there, our guy, and dropped some things off. There were cars wrapped around the block going there to get food, and it was just amazing. So I'm trying to figure out where all these people are going and how long they can stay where they are, because if you've lost everything, it's going to take months, if not years, to rebuild a house, that sort of thing. So it's kind of unprecedented at this level, this time around, but I'm trying to really get a handle on it.
And in some cases, Rich, probably not building at all because not being able to afford to do it.
Yeah.
As you pointed out this morning, hey, some of those folks been living there for 50, 60 years, got the house paid for, living off of their retirement income. They got nothing else.
Yeah,
period.
up in that area, there's a lot of senior citizen owners there that bought their houses 30, 40, 50 years ago. And they're not necessarily in a position, like you said, Maurice, to rebuild. So we'll have to see what happens with all of that. But the Dream Center, we're going to stay in touch with them to see how that's impacting. They did have some vacancies in the veterans floor in the women's veteran home. I wonder if they're filling up those vacancies with people that need a place to stay.
I would love to hear, and we'll probably find out Monday from Chase and Stetson, have they gotten to full occupancy? Because that's a 500-bed facility. I know they weren't at full capacity. And are they going to use some of the spaces that are vacant on the veterans floor, et cetera?
Right.
Be interested.
Yep.
All right. So, Rich, why don't we go ahead and do the check-in and then get started?
Okay. We all know everyone on the phone, so I'm not going to put up the pie chart because I want to see everybody's face. I'm checking in. Well, circumstances are a 1, but I'm checking in at a 8.5 because I'm seeing a spirit of people coming out and helping out and getting together and that sort of thing, and we'll keep everybody posted. So I am positive and hopeful for the future that people are going to rally around and help each other out. So that's what I'm checking in at, and I'm going to go over to John.
Yeah, same here. I'm one of the lucky ones. And like Ron Stark likes to say, it's I got a doorknob on the inside of my door, and nobody's shooting at me. So one of the lucky ones. I'm a 10.
Very good. Charlie, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, 10.
All right, Keith.
Good afternoon. I'm a 10, maybe 10 and a half. After talking to Maurice and Rich this morning, they've given me some good ideas and feed me some stuff I can do. You guys need to talk to Maurice and Rich more, okay? I tell you. So I'm about 10 and a
Well,
half.
that's a compliment because I'm not
Thank
sure we ever really are sure what we're talking about, but we certainly do like to talk.
And we get into some intense debates too.
Very good. Ron, good morning.
Yeah, I think my score today, externally, it's a low mark. I mean, I look to the north. I'm looking at a northern sky, and it over San Diego, it's blue, but to the north, it's this gray, darkening. Much of what's coming south and from the winds. Um, I'm almost at empathy overload right now. Like Maurice talked about at the edges of it. It's like it's too big. It's just too big.
Yeah.
But I mean, as prepared to live in this world and to take on the day and whatever it happens, probably about a 9. Okay, so I mean, I'm prepared for this day,
Yeah.
whether I wanted it or not. This is the day, and I've got to live in it.
Right. And I'm hopeful that, this is sort of a wake up call for some people that have just been going along in life. And maybe as we come out of this, it's time to do a repurpose, maybe repurpose your vision and your life. If you remember when the Hawaii fire happened up in Maui, we spent about 4 weeks on the psychological impact of disasters. Maybe we'll bring that out again in a couple weeks, because you're going to have a lot of emotional fallout because of this, and people are going to need to reimagine their future, and they're going to need to refresh or create a vision and a purpose. To avoid that downward spiral.
Yeah, Rich, and I guess disasters cause us to focus, but like once Desert Storm and Desert Shield and Iraq and Afghanistan, once we were essentially out of there, people forget. I mean, we are quick to forget. This is not. So you talked about the homes because of now other environmental standards. Many of those homes can't be rebuilt, and you have to build them back to what they were. And then when you try and upgrade to the codes and the what they call the heat calcs for houses now, many of them just won't even be able to be brought to code, even if they could be rebuilt. And the permits to get that, I know that there will be some speeding, but the speed of government is so slow. This will be probably a rebuilding project of about 15 to 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're doing a total rebuild, the cost, the insurance, if you're lucky enough to have it and get it paid, is not going to cover a total rebuild. There's no way. They really don't do that 100% no matter what the cost when they write those policies. That's why they have gap insurance on certain things.
Well, yeah. And another thing is people who have insurance on their homes, if they quit paying that insurance, they won't be able to get reinsured.
Yeah, and insurance companies have been canceling policies even before this fire. It's very hard to get housing insurance up here, because of a number of reasons. But I was thinking, why can't Reboot take our experience with transition and with veterans and stress and write a couple short white papers that everybody could benefit from? I found out the other day that a well-placed paper with a well-placed title on LinkedIn could go viral, like just through the LinkedIn. And Keith, there's workshops on that mastermind about using LinkedIn. There's a LinkedIn guy, but a well-placed article has actually launched entire initiatives catalyst for initiatives. So why don't we take some of our knowledge and give Maurice some AI questions and get some, maybe some real practical short papers written that we can put on LinkedIn that could help everybody, and we can reference our experience with veterans that have gone through trauma.
Right. I think maybe even bringing it more current, the work that SDVC has done on the STAR with LIMDU and ADCEP and MedCep, because that is an undoing of not someone's choosing. And so in LA, this is an undoing that was not they didn't just like pack up one day, sell their home and move. Their home got taken away, their environment. It's like, this has been an imposed thing, not a chose thing.
Right.
Chose wasn't the right word, but it rhymed.
Yeah.
I'm really liking where this conversation is going.
Yeah.
And it was one thing I was actually thinking about was a comment that I heard this morning from Sherry. Sherry is one of our morning mastermind speakers, and she introduced us to a book by a speaker that I had no knowledge of, Richard Rohr. I don't know if Rich and Keith, if you guys had a chance to look at that trailer that I sent this morning, but he's an interesting person, and he has a series of quotes out there. And one of the quotes that he has is transitioning or transformation, whatever state of mind you're in, is more about, now back to what Ron was saying, it's more about the unlearning than relearning. And so you have to unlearn what has happened, almost like try to forget that so you can kind of come back with something else. And so absolutely, we'll look into that and see what we can do.
Yeah, and I saw Mel Gibson, who lost a house. They're putting out lists of the stars and everything. Lost house. So his house was burned to the ground, and he was out of town, and he got like nothing out of it. And they were interviewing him, and he was really kind of inspirational. He says, you have to view your stuff as stuff. You cannot attach yourself to stuff. And he had some valuable things in his house. He had some literature in there from the 1600s and 1500s.
Probably,
and he said,
stuff,
you just have to view it as stuff. And if you're healthy and you have, your family and friends, you got to let go. And I remember one of the popular pastors, I think it was Chuck Swindoll, someone said, you have to hang on to life loosely. And you have to really be ready, almost like preparation, like emotional preparation for crisis.
It's almost like you have to feel lucky that you walked away with your life.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Okay. So I think I'll dust off that disaster musters and everything. Maybe we can put out some really nice practical things about reorientation, physical and emotional reorientation, which is what the veterans do and other people going through change.
You want to finish with a check-in?
Yeah. Let's see. Who do we have left? Rachel.
So you guys kind of pushed a couple of buttons there when you said the list of the stars. So I'm probably about an 8 because of what's going on. But what really gets me going is when we hear about all these stars, they lost this and that. And I say, whether you had a 10 by 10 box or whatever, it was your home. It was the things that, made your day by day. We all, like I said, bleed red blood. So it's kind of like, but those are the people that I think, they don't have to contend with the financial piece. When you're sick, if you don't have to deal with the financial piece of it, that's half the battle. But when you're, in a disaster and you got to deal with the fact that you emotionally and now you don't have the finances, it's like a double whammy. And so I just wish the news would stop and all the social media would stop reporting on the stars, because it's like, all people. I'm like, oh my gosh, all the people, when they come on with their platform with the cancer, it's like, yes, we're spreading awareness, but you know how many people die every single day because they don't have the proper resources and the finances to get them through. And so that just really just has been grinding on me, how we just, it's like, what's wrong with this world, and the things that they're reporting on, in the grand scheme of things, what truly really is important, the fact that I think the last count was 11. It's like, hey, 11 people and all these areas. And I think some of those areas, they'll never be able to rebuild. Hawaii, the same thing. They are so close to the edge. Back then, it wasn't, it was okay. But now all the zoning and things, these businesses are coming in and it's, political and it may not ever come back, but consider that you do have a life. And that's, so I'm in an 8 today for that reason, but
All right.
trying to get up there.
Okay. Very good. David.
I'm going to give myself a 9 today.
All right. Is Milt a vet yogi?
I believe it is. Yeah.
Always.
Okay.
Well, fam, how are you doing? I'm still in Houston, Texas.
Oh,
I would stick with my 9. Physically, I'm in pain. Emotionally, I am fantastic. And then the cold freeze has gone away here. I am sympathetic to what's going on in LA. I see many opportunities going forward. We talked about how can we help veterans, right? How can we help other people? LA has a huge population of veterans that are living there. From an entrepreneurial side, this would be a perfect timing to say, hey, well, all of the housing that was left for the veterans that's not being used, and the UCLA is fighting and not providing and all these things, and then they started to provide with all this land that is being cleared and people are going to flee California. We could unite our powers or our fundings or whatever, create a better place that we're providing housing for veterans, and then run it in a better way, right? That would be, or is, one of the ideas that is coming to my mind, right? Unfortunately, with every disaster, there's people that are going to see it as an opportunity to do whatever it is that they can do. Yeah, we can either make it for the better of our community or let somebody else take advantage and then rip us off in the end, right? So that would be one of the views that I have. Here in Houston, Texas, there's so many opportunities to being and doing the same. I got off this morning off a call of investors that are doing real estate, and I actually started the conversation about similar to the what is it, the veteran village in San Diego, San Diego Veterans
VVSD.
Village.
Yeah,
Yes.
VVSD.
But providing something more permanent, right? That is my goal. That is my dream, and I am verbalizing it to you because that is something that I have tossed around for many months, and that I'm actually throwing it out to the universe. That is something I want to accomplish. I want to provide housing for the veteran community. I remember Maurice asking me once, he's like, what is the one thing that you want to tackle? And we told him, end the suicides, end this, and that, and a whole bunch of different things came out. But honestly, I think providing housing for the veterans and or active duty service members that are coming in would be one of the biggest things that I would like to put all my energy into tackling, because I think that is something that is very productive.
Very
So
good. Thanks. You're up, Pete.
In regards to Yogi, two things. One, real quickly, is I don't know how close Hope Through Housing Foundation.org is, but they're in Texas. Hope Through Housing Foundation, National Board. I know some of them pretty well now. And the other one is, yes, in Texas, is that wonderful story. He's not a veteran, but 3D printing of houses. Yes, it's more affordable, less cost. And that guy was on 60 Minutes. And I think once some veteran organizations get to know him and say, hey, well, what about our veteran families and vets? What about working out some details to where the veteran population is benefited? So I give you those two tips, and I hope that you run with at least one, because our veterans It's Veteran Families and Military Veteran of the Year here in San Diego. And that's how we kicked off our meeting. I wish you were here yesterday for the meeting, but it was fabulous. But Yogi, I know your heart, and I owe it to you to give you those 2 tips. Now, changing gears, I am a +10, and about the LA and the other hertz is, well, you know, keepers, a 5 or a 6. I'm not going to go there because the pain is great. But look, the other thing is our organization, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, on this, is that we use a form of self-reporting. And it's been shown, correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, self-reporting outperforms implicit tools. So already Reboot has built upon tools, a tool, self-reporting measures like, hey, I'm a +10. And I sent both Rich and Maurice an article on that, and it just hits home. We are at the right place at the right time and have been, and who could ask for more than that than other, call to action and take action.
That's right.
I commend you if I got that right.
That's correct. Absolutely. Let's go to Mark.
Mark, you're still on mute. That little microphone thing down there at the bottom. It should be like right in the lower bar. Still muted. Try using your space bar, Mark. Sometimes the space bar works also. Okay, that didn't work either. Okay. It could be your screen setting. Are you using like an iPad or a computer or a smartphone? Because it might be that the view that you're looking at might cut off all of the controls where you could raise your hand or you could mute or unmute or something like that.
Or maybe try sending a chat message.
Yeah, do a chat message. It would be nice if maybe
Yeah.
Google and others, Zoom, created a feature where you could unmute the person who can't unmute themselves.
Right.
That'd be helpful. Okay. Keep working on it. You'll get it.
Yeah, we will get it. When you open up that mic, just speak up and we will connect.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
I am going to go to the screen. I think Maurice, you're up.
I'll just hit
I'll
hit a
getting my
10.
screen.
Yeah. I'll just hit a 10 and we can keep striding.
And let me know when the screen is up.
Screen is up.
Should be up now. Thanks. Okay, so you guys, we've been talking about preparation for goal setting. Usually people jump right into goal setting, but we said, hey, what are some things you can do to prepare for goal setting? And we actually, came up with, there were several things we talked about. I'm not going to go through them in detail, but we talked about, putting together a list of positive and negative events from the year before. And then you want to do more of the positive and less of the negative. You want to review your accomplishments, your setbacks and takeaways from the prior year, 2024 in this case. And then we got into the next week and we started talking about what are some other specific things you can do before goal setting. And we said committing to practicing self-reflection and mindfulness. We covered that. And then we talked about decluttering and organizing, and we made suggestions at the bottom. And Rachel led that one. And that was very good. So now we're up to the third one today. We got about 3 more today to talk about. And the next, simple thing to do before goal setting is thinking about your health, cultivating healthy habits. This is the health and wellness. And if you can prioritize your physical and mental well-being and make a commitment to those healthy habits, then you can really get in and start setting and digging into goals. So,
and Rich, Charlie's got his hand up.
Charlie.
Yeah, I think we might want to consider mental preparation.
Mm-hmm. Physical and mental preparation.
Okay, it looks like
Very
Mark
good.
is unmuted. Mark, did you unmute? Okay, he got his hand up there.
Got a little bit of a connection there. Okay. Well, we'll still stand by for Mark. So 7 areas to really start getting your health in line would be prioritizing sleep. It's very important to get enough sleep. Looking at targeted supplements for specific physical situation and goals. So we talked about that. So you want to really get to know what your needs are. Think about that. Ditching refined carbs, sticking with unprocessed foods as much as possible, a little bit of awareness for that. There's a lot of research on intermittent fasting, which is where you go for a period without eating. It's supposed to stabilize your blood sugar levels. And they say if you can go 12 hours without eating, it's really good for those blood sugar levels. Taking care of your gut with probiotics, with foods and supplements. You want to get the probiotics in there because everything starts in the gut. And then prioritizing relationships and getting social. So this is for emotional support with others. You want to engage with others, and then sitting less and moving your body more. We talked about 5 minutes of brisk walking has benefits, especially after meals, and taking the stairs. These are some simple things to really think about to make a commitment to before you actually get into your heavy goal setting.
And we got 2 hands up. We got Keith and then Yogi.
Hey, so I like this list a lot. You know, one of the things when you talk, for instance, about consider intermittent fasting, some things just when you hear them, they seem hard to you. You know, because you first look at it and you go, "What? 12 hours without eating?" And you don't really have a context to put it in. I accidentally started the intermittent fasting. You know, I just didn't eat after a certain time at night, and then I get up in the morning, have a liquid breakfast, go to the gym, and by the time I ate again, it was 12 to 14 hours, and I saw the difference. And this thing that I thought was so hard to do really just played out in my life. Naturally, it wasn't hard at all. So some things can seem hard, and they really aren't. You just got to give them a chance. Thanks.
I kind of accidentally fell into the same thing. So I said, hey, if I stop eating at about 7 at night, 7 or 8, and I don't eat again until 7, 8 in the morning, I'm sleeping for most of that time. So it actually is something that worked out, and I found a lot of benefits from it too, Keith.
Yogi?
So I love my wife. Let me start with that.
Oh, here we go. You want me to turn off the recorder?
Yes, please. Not just kidding. So when we were in San Diego, we started drinking mineralized water, right? So they purify it, they get rid of all the chlorine and all that other stuff, but it strips it away from the minerals too, right? And then afterwards they add the minerals back to it. So we tried it for about 2 months, and then mood stabilization was great. A lot of different things. As soon as we came from San Diego and we started coming over here, our input of water decreased, right? And for me, I guess just from being in the Navy and getting myself used to a whole bunch of things, I was able to not necessarily change my moods, right? However, you could tell extremely her mood changed, and then also our diet changed, and then her lack of sleep changed. So it just threw her for a massive roller coaster. And I want to say that it's something that creating a habit is so important, and especially when you're having the right food, the right drinks, and the right everything. And if you're just drinking water that is not good for you, it's actually stripping more than it's adding to your body. So I really love that we came into this list, kind of like Keith said, because it is something that you don't think about as much, and that you think that you're good. And then number 6 actually triggered a thought. There's an action. So cats, they have a bacteria from their stomach that can infect human beings and other animals to be more in tune with what a cat wants and controls your brain, right? That same bacteria can create suicidal ideations, can create very toxic and negative traits, And that's why there's a lot of things that say, hey, deworm yourself, clean your bacteria, sit properly, don't touch the cat feces and things like that. And that's just fascinating because something as simple as that just changes your entire life.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Just like fresh air as well, and things like that. So, the idea is that these are things with some awareness. You can quickly make some small changes because small progress is great progress. But these are things that hopefully, would not be so overwhelming that they derail you. Just pick a few of these, think about it, start working on it, and you can really feel so much better.
Yogi's back again with another comment. Go ahead, Yogi.
You mentioned something about fresh air.
Yeah.
Also, the neuroscience has paid a lot of attention that if you are looking down, you go into a fight or flight mode.
Mm.
When you look up and you're looking at the skies as if you're looking at the birds and you're listening to bird sounds, your brain automatic response goes into soothing, because if there's nature and you're looking up, you're not looking for threats. Well, as
Wow.
if you're looking down, like we're like right now, my computer is at a lower level than where I'm at. My brain automatically is going into this fight or flight mode unnecessarily. And if I don't do something to compensate it and look up and then soothe my brain, we start putting ourselves into this fight or flight mode no matter what. And that also creates toxic behaviors.
Wow. I just my screen's a little bit lower. I just looked up and I did feel a lift in my mood immediately. Try that. Everyone just kind of look up, see if you feel a shift. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Number 4 is foster relationships and community. Okay. Something we can do, in preparation for 2025. Intentional quality time with individuals and groups. Put it on your calendar, because we know that it's easy to isolate, especially with if you just only go on your social media and that sort of thing. That's not enough. So you want to be intentional. Put on your calendar, get together with a friend, call a friend, out to a group, take a painting and art class. 2, create mindful digital interactions to connect with others. So now when you are connecting digitally, be mindful about it, and how you do it. It's probably better to go on a Zoom call where you're interacting with the body language. And maybe what are you talking about? Or maybe schedule time even digitally to interact with others, not just be in there on the video games and the Instagram and all of that all the time. 3rd one is engage in personalized experience with common activities that you and others enjoy. So I'm a really big believer in this. If you want to really make friends and meet people that have common interests, you look for those common activities. They might be digital. Hopefully that some of them are face-to-face, but that's where you go out and you take that art class, or you go to a group or a book club or something like that.
I think Mark's got his hand up and Yogi's got his hand up.
Okay.
Let's try it again. Almost there, Mark. We're getting a little something coming through, but not entirely. Not yet.
Very faint. Very faint.
Yeah. He's gonna have to log out and log back in. Okay, let's go over to Yogi.
So I am fascinated by this. I don't know if you guys remember the movie in 2013, Her. And it was about the guy that fell in love with Siri, the AI.
Oh,
right?
yes. Yes.
Now we're in 2025, and now that Siri came up with artificial intelligence and the new Google things, I don't know if you guys have seen it on the news that there's reports of people actually falling in love with the artificial intelligence, right? The large language models. So it's funny that it took a decade for this to become a reality. Also, I don't know if you guys have also heard that there's a lot of therapists, psychologists that are using ChatGPT as their patient is coming into them, and they're typing into ChatGPT what their problems are or things like that, just take notes on the patient, and they're using that in order to respond. and to interact, to be able to help them diagnose better. And sometimes some of those psychologists are also recommending for the patient to use ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, I want you to act as my therapist. I'm currently going through a crisis. I'm having suicidal ideations. Can you please help me? Right? So I read that and I went into it yesterday, curiosity, and it freaked me out because I went into ChatGPT and was like, hey, ChatGPT, I want to test this theory about all of these things. It turned around and said, Yogi, I am here for you. How can I help you? It freaked me out. Like I love ChatGPT. I use it. I work with it. I created my profile. But having it say, hey, Yogi, I am here for you. How can we talk and get past through this together? I was like, bro, that's next level things that I'm not even comfortable with. You know what I mean?
That's right. That
Well,
is
you know
right.
what they found was that the AI has more. It seems to have more empathy
Yeah.
than the humans do.
sure.
So go figure that one. We got a couple of. I think we got Mark's hand up. Go ahead, Mark. Let's try it again.
You know, the fifth time a charm.
I think we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Oh, look at that. Hey, well, thanks, you guys. I'll check in at about a 9.5. And I am sorry that I wasn't able to chime in a little bit earlier, but one of the things that has been really always drives my industry is when you see all of these people, because I heard about that somebody might have had a home that was paid off years ago and they're on a fixed income, and how much is that's going to be. It is so imperative, I say it all the time, is to review your insurance policies, because you want to make sure you are where you think you are, because you can't go back to the fact. With all of these homeowner policies, with all of the changes that have happened in the last few years in California, unfortunately, what just came out of Sacramento was that the insurance commissioner had approved these carriers to return back to California with the stipulation that they had to have a certain percentage in the high fire districts. So that was approved, and that was the process being before we saw all of this tragedy happen in LA. So there's more, I don't know, there'll be some other industry updates and things like that as they come out, but it really means that, you know, somebody said, well, I thought that was covered. We need to, as part of those key and fundamental things that we talk about for tragedy or going through trauma, anything else, that I think one of those things that we can offer up is to take the time to really be purposefully and mindful about making sure that your that your insurance is in order, so that you don't cause undue hardship if something unthinkable were to happen to you.
That's right. Prevention. Absolutely. Thank you. Did you check in with a number?
Yep.
Okay. Very good. Is there another hand up?
Nope.
Okay. So focusing on your shared values and purpose to move toward your vision and goals. This will help you be focused, especially if you do it with other people. A group like the Muster Group, it's really going to help foster the relationships and community, because you're focusing now on what's important to you, which leads to the next one. Prioritize authentic engagement over superficial connections. Focus on what matters most. I would venture to say a lot of the engagement, especially with social media, is superficial. But if you really get those values and your goals down, you can focus on what matters most and make those be your primary relationships. And then leveraging technology to enhance meaningful interactions rather than replacing them entirely. So you don't want to just bury your head in the sand, because basically the takeaway is that, you know, fostering relationships, building your community will involve a blending of multiple activities and focus areas. Some will be face-to-face, some will be technology-driven. And, you know, as you're fostering these healthy relationships, it actually enhances longevity, as is demonstrated in the blue zones.
Well, and just one point about that, Rich, is that when you look at technology like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and all those things, those are places where people can build relationships. Some of them are kind of shallow, but again, it's a way to reach and touch more
Sure.
people. You just have to be very sensible about how you use it, and even understanding that some of the information that you get may not be accurate. But again, if you're looking to not feel like you're isolated, then they could be good vehicles to keep you at least in touch with people.
Absolutely. So I think it's another reinforcer of personal accountability and internal locus of control, where you're actually taking responsibility for how you're interacting with the world around you. You're not just responding to it or going in the direction that it's leading you. Okay. I wrote this last one in honor of Maurice. Get comfortable with AI.
Yes.
If 2024 was an indicator, it's time to get knowledgeable with artificial intelligence. And you do that by gaining a working understanding of the prominent AI tools. So you have to do some learning.
And Rich, let me just say that
Sure.
I don't recommend it as a replacement. I just suggest it as an enhancement. And
Right.
sometimes I think some people kind of take me out of context. Well, Maurice, it's not everything. I'm not suggesting that AI be everything, but again, it's just going to help you get to where you want to go a lot faster than not.
Yeah, especially if you know where you want to go.
Yeah.
And you have your goals. It can help you definitely streamline busy work, right?
Oh my goodness.
And
Yeah.
labor-intensive research and that sort of thing.
We got two hands up there. Looks like Yogi and then Mark.
So I beat you guys to the punch. I actually started learning about large language models and what
Good for you,
AI
Yogi.
is.
Yeah.
This year, that's my main goal. And all of the courses, all of the things tell you that if you dedicate 1 month, about 4 hours a day, in 4 to 6 weeks, you will be able to have a true basic understanding of what AI is, how it works, and how it actually comes up with everything, right? I was not aware prior to this prior to this research that AI and the function behind AI is all statistical mathematical computations. So math is essentially, if you want to be successful at what AI is just what is the most common or what is the most possible solution that we have been using, right? So 50 years ago, you had computers, right? And arguably a calculator was the computer. Now we have cell phones. Now we have what we call, or what we think AI is, which AI is just a large language model for the most part. And it has really changed our thoughts of what it can be, and it scares the crap out of a lot of people. But I say that I am super happy that we're talking about this, and I would suggest Khan Academy, AI for instructors, also code.org for basic principles, and then MIT AI or Google for everyone as basic courses to understand what and how the systems work. So you take the fear and the panic out of what we think it is. And then then after start playing with ChatGPT and the thousands of other tools that are available.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm saying you don't even have to be an expert at it, but become knowledgeable, not only for what it is, but what it's not. We had a muster a few weeks ago where we were looking at the different visual aspects of it that were totally made up and created, and they weren't even real. But I think the more you can understand that, the more you can harness yourself around it. Probably no different of when they built the printing press and all these books and newspapers and stuff started coming out. Who knows? You have to really take responsibility for your own fact checking and so forth. So you get working knowledge of it. Take some time to experiment and play with it a little bit. ChatGPT and other tools. Try using it in creative ways to support your goals for the year. So if you identify your goals and you use AI to maybe give you a deeper knowledge of what's out there, it could be helpful. Definitely, if you're entering the workforce, it's imperative to be able to use AI tools. If you're job hunting, whether you're starting out or maybe switching careers, it can really, really be helpful. I saw an article where someone used an AI bot to actually write his resume and also revise his resume for different jobs. It was a bot that revised his resume automatically, and he had it on for like 48 hours and got 50 interviews.
Mm-hmm. We got a couple of hands up there. We got Mark's hand is up, Pete's hand up, and then Maurice after that. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, Maurice, I don't know, a couple months ago, you were talking about the fact that you just had a conversation with ChatGPT. Well, I followed that lead and I just said, hey, ask me 10 questions to get to know my company better. And then I literally have a log using ChatGPT about some of the different conversations and things. Through the open enrollment period for Medicare, I was running a campaign, an email campaign, and I said, draft me an email that tells people about open enrollment. Draft me an email 1 week later, because I only had 7 weeks, right? When I'm writing an email and there, I kind of get stuck on how I'm going to word something. I basically draft up my email, say, hey, ChatGPT, rewrite this email for me. And it comes back 100 times better than what I could have done. It is absolutely amazing. But again, it's like that whole garbage in, garbage out. If you give it good quality things about you, then and it always has, I use it for social media posts. Write me a social media post about this concept, and it literally has the graphics. It has a few little emojis that they throw in there. It is absolutely amazing. When you say you want to be efficient with it, it has saved me so much time in my daily life.
But you're controlling it; it's not controlling you.
Exactly. We got Pete,
and
Yogi, and then Maurice.
Okay.
I would like to add, I'm glad most of us are learning about ChatGPT, the other tools AI is capable of doing. I put this in one definitive context, and that is AI is the new Sigma 7. And why I say that, the 5 aspects of it are define, measure, analyze, improve, control. It does all of those 5 categories very well. And when the quantum computer, which is the muscle of AI, you will see it even more exacting, because you'll have that quick response. You'll have those quick answers more than ever before. But I just want to emphasize, in my opinion and experience, that welcome, AI is the new Sigma 7.
That's right.
We got Yogi, then Keith, then Maurice.
Yogi, Keith, Maurice, and we're going to stay focused. So let's be a little bit brief.
I wanted to touch on the representation. Right now, AI is having a hard time representing some of the demographics, because it's who's writing the models and with the data that is being inputted that is not able to represent, right? But if we're not knowledgeable enough to advocate for ourselves now, in the future, we're going to be falling behind and we're not going to be able to catch up. That was point 1. Point 2, going to Pete's point, we need to start investing in electrical companies, because with quantum computing, it requires so much energy. Our electrical power grid is already to the max, right? And power companies are only expanding. Therefore, the power is going to be a new gold. Electrical power is going to be the new gold mine.
Very good.
All right, Keith, and then Maurice.
Just real quick, I just wanted to follow up on something Maurice said about the use of AI. What I find is a lot of people are diving into it, but they can't live up to what they pull out of AI. They may have this great paper, but when you ask them to speak to it, they can't speak to it. You may get 50 interviews, but can you deliver during those 50 interviews? We just have to be careful of that. So thanks, Maurice, for bringing it up.
I love that input. I 100% agree. Maurice.
Yeah. And so, and we can talk about this at another time, because I know we're getting short on time, and Rich has got several other things. But AI is you are AI, and what's going on is it's sort of like, how do you reimagine the consciousness of people? And so the pursuit in terms of the great big AI thing is something that we've actually been doing all our lives. So all your life, and I'm talking about each and every person here, you have been having an AI discussion all of your life. And it's called that discussion between your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is AI. Don't get it wrong. Keep it right and really understand it. You got to learn how to talk to yourself all the time. Back to you, Rich.
That is right. So if you dive in with an open mind, you actually might find out that some of the AI hype is overblown, but now you know. You know, but if you can discover new ways to do more in less time, now you have a secret weapon where you can achieve more in 2025.
Pete, is your hand still up from the last one, or did you have another comment?
No, this is new. I just want to say, Yogi, spot on, but also I believe by the time quantum computers and AI are integrated well, we're going to have the power we need through fusion. It's just right around the corner. It's not 5 years out or whatever. There's a race globally for fusion power.
Yogi, you want to respond?
Absolutely. So 2 things. 1, quantum computers are already here. 2, right now with the declaration from Elon and Trump about taking the brakes off of AI, the expanse on the taxation on the data center industry is going to be super demanded, and data center industries already cannot keep up. And they require so much electrical power. Therefore, next year, if not this year, by next year, we're going to see the consequences of not having enough electrical power to the max, right? With these fires that happen in LA, I think 2 things are going to happen, and you can quote me on this. 1, there's going to be another data center that's going to be opening in LA. And 2, there's going to be at least another nuclear power or nuclear silo or some kind of power plant that's going to be put also in the areas that it's burned. That's my 2 cents.
And again, as they often say in life, be careful what you ask for because you'll get it.
Okay, very good. My closeout page, summary and takeaways. My summary is be intentional, simplify your preparation for 2025 for your goals, and prioritize what's important to you. So when you simplify, one way to do that is consider doing more with less rather than more with more and more and more. And that's because people have trouble stopping things and letting go of things. So consider what you can stop that you were doing last year because it either met its purpose or it's not necessary any longer. Because if you pile up more and more and more, you're going to get overwhelmed just with the volume. And then considering your why for what you want to continue from last year or start new. If you can't come up with a strong why, it may not be a priority. So those are my 3 takeaways, and I'm going to open it up if anyone has any other takeaways. I'm going to add them and start typing them.
Well, I'm just going to use what Rich always tells us is keep it simple, make it real. That's the code that I live by. It looks like Yogi's got his hand up and Mark afterwards.
I wanted to add, so there is a company that is using brain stem cells in order to create computing, aside from Neuralink, right? And that has become so much more effective and efficient. But now, as a takeaway, continuous learning. Continuous learning is what's gotten us here. Open up, broaden our horizon, and keeping us moving forward into our evolution of humanity.
Excellent.
Looks like Mark's got his hand up.
I think one of the quotes that I was always taught was, if you're the smartest person in the room, it's time to find a new room. But it's not to sound, basically on your side, it was always about that fact about the socials, to learn it from other people and to put yourself in some other maybe uncomfortable positions, but at least you can learn a new perspective or some, through some others' experience.
Well, let's let Rachel close this out with the final comment there. Go ahead, Rachel. You're on mute.
Not necessarily to close out, but I did just quickly want to say to embrace change and, don't look at it as, oh, now we got to do this. Try to look at the up half glass, glass half full.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you. It looks like Charlie gets the last word. So Charlie,
Last
close
one,
us out.
Charlie.
Hey, I heard a man one time say, if you listen to other people, you might learn something. If you speak all the time, you're only repeating what you already know.
Okay, I got to listen to learn. All right, everyone. So that wraps up our preparation. Next week, I believe, Keith, will you be ready to talk about commitment next week?
Yes, sir. We dive right into it.
We're going to touch commitment next week, and then the following week, we're going to touch on a new perspective on goal setting. So thank you, everybody. Have a blessed weekend, a blessed week. Send our prayers up to the fire victims, and that we can get that under control. And you guys take care.
All right.
Good job.
See ya.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great
Thank
weekend,
you.
everybody. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Be safe, everyone.
Have a great week.